Should anybody want to ask something tonight and it's private, we can pause the recording. So don't hesitate to ask. Okay. We're just recording it for people that can't attend. Or you can talk to me offline too. Whatever works.
And is everyone able to unmute themselves? I just want to check. Sometimes Zoom doesn't let you.
Test.
Okay, thank you.
Heard a human.
There's a human here. That's great.
Silence my phone. Oh, Marissa, then you have to show us all the dancing that's going on. That'd be cool to watch. Maria, you can't unmute yourself. Did you see anything in the lower left-hand corner? Does that button not let you do it? No.
Let me check the settings.
Anybody else can't unmute themselves? So I was hoping you would all see a very pretty picture outside the window, but it got dark. People are like, Mark, do you live in an apartment that has wood walls? No, I'm in the woods right now. I'm in the woods of my sister's farm. Just ate some homemade cornbread. This is a nice life. I could get used to this. I'm never coming back to New York. It's a nice world up here.
Cornbread sounds amazing.
It does. Homemade jam, everything. My goodness.
I had blueberry pie at an apple farm the other day. It was a hit. It was so good.
My mom's was the best apple pie. Don't think I can do it. Well, we can get started a little bit. The way this is going to go is I'm going to talk at you for a few minutes, well, quite a few minutes, and you can interrupt me at any point, and then hopefully turn into a conversation. And then I have to run away to teach a class. And then, as my first slide will show you, you can contact me anytime to continue the conversation. So I'll spare Sophia and I'll just introduce myself unless Sophia has announcements. Do you have announcements you got to make? No?
No, I was just going to say, feel free to introduce yourself.
So my name is Mark Surabian. And when I taught at Pace University many, many years ago, I had this young student named Beth Rosenberg. She said, I'm going to invent this program where all these kids can get together and socialize and learn about tech. And I went, good luck. And she did it. Good for her. So I don't know if that was a project in her class or what, but it was a beautiful idea. And anyway, I was associated with Tech Kids Unlimited for a while, but I got pretty busy in my life. And what I do is I run a free assistive technology clinic. So about 15 years ago, I had an actual internet cafe where people would come and it was accessible. And we really tried to really invite everyone in our community. The kids who were autistic actually had space in the back where it was quieter and they could use computers and they weren't bothered by people. Everybody found space, which was really nice. But it's pretty hard to maintain a place like that. So then we turned it into a free clinic at the JCC in Manhattan. And we've been there for about 15 years. And the pandemic kind of changed that. So we do everything over Zoom, unfortunately. But when need be, I meet with people in person, especially if a person has a very complex disability or physical disabilities and they can't travel, et cetera. All of our support is free, thanks to a couple grants. We run out eventually, but not usually till like June, which is nice. And we're here to help you at any point think about how assistive tech might help your child or anybody in your family. Actually, we even work with adults, and and I'm a generalist, which means I do just about everything in my field, from communication devices to tools for kids with dyslexia to people supports for people who are blind, etc. So I'm a generalist. Sometimes I might have to send you to a specialist, but after doing this for 40 years, yeah, I kind of know a lot. So whatever you want to know. And you're here to teach me too, the kids especially. That's how I learn a lot of new tools. I love it when a kid has hacked out their own world and found their own tools, which is really, really beautiful. Anyway, let's get started. I want to just start off with showing you a couple fun things. And what's really important about tonight is that everybody here, I know for a fact, has assistive technology. Everybody here, because you're on it right now. And I'm not saying that a computer is assistive technology. I'm saying built into your computer is a lot of assistive technology. Enough assistive technology built into your computers to actually help every kid with a learning disability in the entire city of New York. And that's what's so wild about this. And we'll talk about why that's not really happening. And then you guys can share your thoughts. But I'm going to fly through a few things first. First thing is to just show you, a couple things that you can do with your computer or your phone, Android or iPhone, any computer there is, even Linux, believe it or not. But built into these tools are accessibility features. And it's mind-boggling how many things there are in here to help everybody who has any access needs whatsoever. So much so that this summer, iOS came out with eye tracking, believe it or not. You can control your phone with your eyes. So if you're really bored someday, you can sit there and try to control your phone with your eyes. It's not easy. But for a lot of people that are quadriplegics, it's really essential and really valuable. So, but just something for you to look at. But for purposes of what we're doing, one of the most important things to look at, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, on an iPhone or an Android phone, is the ability to have text to speech, to have things read to you. So all I have to do is go into spoken content. And this, by the way, this is all being recorded if you want to watch it later. Speak selection, I turn on, speak screen, and I turn on a little thing called a speech controller. Now, this little controller pops up, and all I have to do is touch a little finger, and whatever I touch,
the speech controller allows quick access to speak screen and speak on touch. Expand.
Whatever I touch talks. So it doesn't matter what's on the screen, that person can go anywhere and have what they've done read to them. One of the beautiful ways to use this is to have voice dictation involved too. So a lot of my kids actually, use their phones, use their devices, etc., and speak all their thoughts out, blah, 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 get all their ideas out. And then when they're done, they take a break, period. And they're going to come back later and they can review it by just having it read to them.
My kids actually, use their phones, use their devices, etc., and speak all their thoughts out, blah, 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 get all their ideas out.
Now, okay, it's an annoying voice. Granted, it really is. Things are changing, though. One of my friends is working on a way to tweak these voices, especially for communication devices that people use, so that it actually has an attitude, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So eventually you're going to have a New York taxi driver reading this to you going, "Hey, yo, how you doing?" And it's going to be pretty hilarious, I think. That's what I want. That's the voice I want, actually. But the voices are getting better and better. And a lot of the apps that are out there really read at almost a human level. Like one of them is called Natural Reader. And it really reads in an almost human way. But our kids have the ability to really, adapt to these tools much better than we think they do. And well, I'm sure all of you have seen it. And what's really amazing is if you learn to listen to text being read to you, you can refine it on up to, that was about 190 words per minute, 220 words per minute. People who have been doing this since they were kids, I know, listen between 500 and 700 words per minute, which is mind-boggling. So the human body is capable of doing that. So that's one app I wanted to show you how, a lot of other things are built into, your iPhone. And right now, what I want to tell you is don't touch this one. It's called VoiceOver. It's for the blind. Please never, 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 never touch it, because you will never, never get out of it. And you'll be calling Mark going, "Help, My phone is incapacitated. But there's a lot of really amazing things over here in here. And we're going to go over some of them in a minute. One more app I'll show you really quickly is there's a lot of really cool apps out there that help us do things.
Laurel's Kitchen.
Look at this.
Laurel's Kitchen, a handbook for vegetarian cookery and nutrition by Laurel Robertson, Carol Flinders, and Bronwyn Godfrey. Baymont Laurel's Kitchen.
I told you I was in the woods. This is my
McKinchin Coolery on Natch Tina Laurel. Reardum. So flying person, zero faces.
This app called Seeing AI, actually, whatever I put it over, it will read to me. And I can actually take a picture of handouts or whatever and have those read to me, etc. It does a lot of things. It also helps a person identify people in an environment, identify objects in an environment, read barcodes. It can do a lot of really cool things. I'm not expecting you to write this down. I'm just giving you a taste of what some of these things can do. This one's kind of fun, though, because it also recognizes
face near
people.
center, 2 feet away.
So if I train this to be my face, it would know it's me. So if I was forgetting who people were, I could just aim my phone at
Face
them
near
and
left
tell me who
edge.
they are.
One face picture. One processing. 59-year-old man with gray hair wearing glasses looking neutral.
Well, it's very complimentary because I'm actually 3 years older than that. So that's pretty cool. So there's so many tools out there that are really amazing. But your phone itself, I just learned a whole bunch of new things from Apple. This isn't one of them, but some things I'm going to have to try to remember. Your phone itself can do a lot of really things without any adaptations. Like I just took a picture of this. I went to buy a car today, and I took a picture of their warranty, and all I have to do is highlight the picture, and I can have the whole thing read to me, or translated, by the way.
Additional fees or hidden costs. Fully insured national program.
So I can have that immediately read to me just by taking a picture. Android does the same thing. So there's
Speakable content could be found on the screen.
All right, we'll stop sharing. So you see, you have this stuff built in. And let me start off our presentation. You'll get an idea a little bit more of what we're talking about. And then I'll fly through it, and then we'll ask some questions. Let me share this with you. And you can actually post some in the chat, and I'll try to make sure that I'm looking at it. If not, Sophia will point it out to me that it's there. But let's talk about this, because I know a lot of you have some questions and concerns because your kids might benefit from assistive tech. A lot of kids who are autistic often face, or kids who have ADHD like me, often face a lot of interesting, challenges in the classroom. Our fine motor, our ability to express ourselves well, perhaps, our ability to stay organized, perhaps, to put our ideas together. There's so many things that we might face in a classroom. And the easiest way for you to understand where assistive tech plays a role for your kid is to think about one thing. What do I do for them? Because see, you're their assistive technology. It's really simple. You are the assistive technology. So if you're doing things for them, we need to replace you in the equation. If they are truly going to be independent in their schoolwork, whatever it is you do for them, we need a replacement. So that's how you keep it simple. What am I doing for them? What are the teachers doing for them? I worked a lot in the NEST program, working with the NEST program with the DOE, and watching how a lot of kids, really try to interact and learn to, become really a bigger part of their community. But I noticed I don't notice a lot of assistive tech. There are a lot of OTs there. It doesn't mean they know what they're doing with regards to AT. And so I'll see a lot of the kids struggle with just minor things that could be fixed. And it's not them that needs to be fixed. It's their access that needs to be fixed. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about access. And that's at the heart of all of this. Whenever I talk to any child and they say, Mark, I'm having trouble in school and it's because I'm different. And, because no, it's not you. It's the way we designed the school. And I'm not trying to be cute or politically correct or even nice to them. The fact of the matter is we built the schools wrong. Okay? And they don't serve kids the way they should. If a kid who was blind came into a school and he couldn't see, no one is going to give him a book to read. Come on, we're not that stupid. And yet, if a kid who is dyslexic comes into the school or is having reading problems, suddenly it's like, you're going to read and we're going to find a way for you to read. That's nice, but it will take a while. In the meantime, what are we doing? So there's a real ableist thing that's keeping us from helping our kids, because the real goal is for our kids to learn, not just learn one way. So that's what we're working on. Now, this is the law that's out there. And, my favorite thing to tell parents when you're fighting the DOE is how to play lawyer. If you would go into and say, I want my child to get assistive tech, and the psychologist in the meeting would say, well, your child doesn't really qualify for assistive tech. And you're like, Mark, what do I do? I mean, she's in psychology. She's seen this before. I got to listen to her. No, you don't. You call her out very sweetly. You go, oh, I'm sorry. Why do you think he doesn't need assistive tech? Or what evidence or what research lends you to believe that? Call them out and ask them the basis of their argument. Find out what they think, especially for parents of kids who say are non-speaking. I love it when someone says, well, we don't believe he needs a communication device. He's going to learn to talk. Based on what? Call out people for their evidence. Too often we just take them at their word because they're the professionals. A professional could only know so much. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. I still don't think I know enough about my field. Okay. My wife is a social worker for the DOE. She's constantly asking me, hey, is this okay? Is that okay? Yeah. The Board of Ed of New York is the most progressive institution for inclusion on the face of the earth on paper. Remember the end of that sentence, on paper. And nobody reads the paper. Nobody reads the internet. The DOE tells you everything you need to know, but nobody ever reads it, even the staff that work there sometimes. So yes, I'm trashing the DOE. That's very mean of me, but I work with them and they're lovely people, actually. My wife works for them. I've got to be really careful here. So anyway, this is what you need to know about AT. It does 4 things. It doesn't just provide access. Okay. It does these 4 things. First off, it provides access to anybody. So this little guy in school, Beth knows this kid, this is how he learned how to read. He could use his thumb to change pages in a book and then touch it and have it read to him. And wow, couldn't do that a few years ago. Provides access. It also reveals potential. This young lady used this switch. She's a quadriplegic, she's blind, and she's non-speaking. She used this switch to spell her name, and we all sat here dumbfounded because if we hadn't provided her with that access, we never would have known what was in her head. And this is what you really need to know about my field is we always say to ourselves, we don't know what we don't know. And the tools are there to help us discover more about a kid. Okay. So the problem is when people have severe disabilities like Tom and Tara here, we just jump at the chance to help them with access. But for everybody else with a learning challenge or minor, say, dysgraphia or other physical, tiny, tiny challenges, we don't jump at the chance to help them. And I don't really understand why, but like I said, I think it's about, ableism. This little guy has dyslexia. And so the third thing about assistive tech is it sustains engagement. So while the little guy might be learning to read or write better, we have to keep them in the class. We have to keep them engaged. And that's what AT does. It helps you stay engaged. I can't see the chat right now. So if anybody has a question, just unmute yourself and say, Mark, I have a question. Okay. So this little guy, he wouldn't go to school because he was embarrassed. He couldn't read. And so we got him the thing called Reading Ally, Learning Ally, which reads books to him that are performed by actors. Actors actually read the books. And any New York City school kid with literacy challenges is entitled to this. Totally entitled. Everything I've shown you today, the kids are entitled to. Okay. So this little guy's mom sends me this picture one day, says, Mark, you won't go to school. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't we just solve that? He's got books that read to him. He goes, yeah, but he's on page 40 of Harry Potter and he doesn't want to leave it. So he didn't want to go to school for another reason. Oh, yeah, it was pretty funny. And then finally, I would say that the primary reason that I'm going to pass all this over. The primary reason that I believe in assistive tech is that it preserves mental health. Our little guys, especially your little guys, are usually the one thing about my intern is autistic. I think he's taught me a lot about understanding autism. Not that working with probably a good 3,000 people who are autistic didn't help, but really listening to him. And I have to say that in the old days, we used to really think that a lot of kids who are autistic really weren't able to pay attention to the world that well and were overwhelmed. And now we're starting to rethink and going kind of the opposite. They are paying attention to the world too much. way too much, taking in a great deal, and the information is an information overload. And so a lot of our little guys know full well that things aren't going well for them in school, but they don't know who to tell. And they just put up with it and they just tolerate it. And it really starts to frustrate them and lean on them. My nephew is one of these kids who's dyslexic, and he didn't even want to tell anybody. He was embarrassed. And he just started to get depressed. And when he was in middle school, he was actually diagnosed as clinically depressed because he knew he was different and nobody was, coming around his way. So our kids, especially the kids who have any kind of learning challenges and feel ostracized in their environment, are really predisposed to this. But the funny thing is, if you fix that situation so that they do have access, a lot of those mental health issues fix themselves to some degree. So he was depressed. We gave him this little pen. This little pen reads to you as you wipe it along a page. He fell asleep on this pen that night. He was so obsessed with it. I can read anything. And it gave him power, and it really healed his soul considerably. So I really believe that assistive tech, the final thing is it helps mental health. So don't be intimidated by tech. Any kid can use tech, clearly. I just love TikTok videos. Sorry. Just, lighthearted humor for a second. Can't believe this baby's doing this. Anyway, here's where you start. Tonight, look at your computers, look at your devices. I'll bet your kids have already figured this stuff out. So there's so many things we can do right now. And in the classroom, we can do it right now. And the pandemic taught us a lot about this because everybody finally in the entire world learned how to turn on a computer, and so everyone in the school system has access to these tools. They go into the accessibility features and they find so many things, like for kids with low vision or kids who can't read, things that speak the screen, change the display, change the backgrounds, etc. I'll give you these handouts if you need them. We have support for any kid that has auditory processing issues or hearing issues. Matter of fact, the FDA just determined that earpods and an iPhone count as a hearing device because the quality is almost as good as a $5,000 hearing aid. Whoa. But what I do with my kids who can't really process what's going on or really attend is I'd have them wear a wireless headset, take their phone and put it in the front of the class by the teacher. It's basically an FM unit, but a little bit more respectful FM unit, frequency modulation unit that we give to little guys who have auditory processing issues. But anyway, it can do live captioning. That's what the new iPhone can do, live captioning. And the kid can actually pay attention visually if they can't process what the teacher's saying. So if a kid's actually trying to tune out everything, they can listen and watch basically in what's on their screen, just with their phone. A lot of assistive tech supports memory and cognitive needs and so forth. That's a little deeper topic we can get into. Voice control of every device that's out there now, not just talking to your device and not just Siri, but literally controlling every aspect of your device with your voice, any device. For people with physical disabilities, believe it or not, like I said, eye tracking, head tracking, all the things. I know we're not talking about anybody in that need right now. One of the things I love is there are, I forget what it's called on Android, but it's like these little teeny icons just like this, and they both have these little shortcuts. So if the kids are having trouble staying organized to get things done, it's like maybe they're supposed to email their homework to mommy every night so that mom knows what they're up to. So they press one of these buttons, and what it does is it goes and it does a chain of events. It opens up email, it puts mom's name in there, and then all they have to do is attach the thing they're sending. It could press a button and it sends a text to mom, I'm all finished, whatever it is. Shortcuts that can be made to help people get things done. This phone on the left, the iPad on the left, shows you what assistive access is. Some kids have a hard time navigating their phones. We can now blow up all the icons and remove all the ones that don't matter and lock them into a simple iPhone, or a simple iPad to run things. And like I said, Android has all of these things. It's called the Accessibility Suite. The problem with Android is you're going to have to read a little bit more directions because it's not as intuitive, but it's just as powerful and cheaper. And like I said, all of these tools are built into all of your devices. This is all the tools built into Windows. So Windows has a whole bunch of tools built in where you can talk to the computer, listen to things. I'm going to tell you about Microsoft Office in a minute. Mac has the same things. And you can see the Mac icons are starting to look like the iPad icons now. They're trying to merge those two worlds. And it's all built in.
Hey, Mark,
Now,
we have a question
yeah,
in the chat.
sure. Please.
Oh,
I can't read it though.
wait, sorry. I can't.
Hmm.
Here, give me one
Let me
sec.
click on it. Hang on a second. Let me see.
Oh, I can hear it. Oh, can you see it?
With all these accessibility aids, is it possible to get phones for our kiddos via the DOE? Yeah, Liz, that's not happening. I think it's a great idea. But we tried to get phones for the DOE because we were going to do this virtual tool that I'll show you in a minute. We couldn't even get it for this therapeutic tool. So now we could get donated old phones if we were smart enough. Yeah. But I think the fact of the matter is there are iPads just about everywhere lying around, not being used. So since the pandemic, a whole bunch of money came into the school system for tech. So there's no excuse at all for a kid not to have access to tech even before an IEP is in place. And we can come up with ways to hack that. We really could, but we can talk about that. Yeah. The other thing that's really, really got more common to all of our kids is actually Google extensions. All browsers have extensions, but our kids are going to be using Classroom, the Google Classroom very typically in most schools. And in college, 75% of colleges use Google Classroom. So you might as well get used to it now. And so it's a great way for the kids to learn how to organize their files, put them away, find them, search for them, etc. It's a real plus. But more importantly, these extensions, this is where they lay up in your menu bar. Okay. You get these extensions by going to the Chrome store, literally the Google Chrome store. You type it into your browser and it'll take you to a store filled with tons of extensions that you can just install yourself. And what I'll do is I'll provide Beth and Sophia with a handout so you guys can go play with some of these. How's that? Remind me. Let me give you an example of what some of them can do. Some of these are not vetted by the DOE. And you have to remember that the DOE will probably say to you, listen, we can't use that tool because they haven't agreed to our privacy, mandates, FERPA, and there's another one. There are these privacy mandates, and if the tool collects the kids, information, their name or their email address, that's wrong. So the tool can't do that. Now at home, you can play with this if you're not worried about someone stealing your information by your email, and that's about all you're going to give them. You already have a Gmail account, so it's not like they don't know who you are. So this is just a great tool that I'm trying to get the DOE to approve. But a lot of us kids who have real attention issues, and I say us, this page on the left is really busy. I mean, extremely busy. And I don't even know what it's about. I guess eventually it says Russia says it's blocking access to Facebook. I guess that's what it's about. But I'm going to go click on the hair with the amber eyes, or go places I shouldn't be, or the business reporter, who won the Yankees game. And yeah, I'm going to go down these rabbit holes, no pun intended, unless I hit a little extension button and it turns it into the document on the right. One button wipes away all the ads, cleans it up, changes the background for my reading, changes the font if I need it changed, and reads it to me. Powerful. I can even edit it and remove the text that doesn't matter for the purpose of the lesson if the teacher wanted to. Pretty cool. That's just one extension.
We have a question about extensions in the chat.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see if
yeah.
Can't see it, I don't think. Let's see. I will give them whatever extensions, but they are not knowledgeable about extensions. So how are we supposed to use them? There's a thing called the Assistive Tech Team, and you can call them, and you should, and they should. But you can also call Mark Surabian, because Mark can train teachers for free. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't tell you. So I go into schools and I train them for free. I have the blessing of the DOE, as long as I play nicely and stay out of their way. If your school ever wants any free advice on how to use extensions, just have them give me a call. We'll do a quick Zoom when they're done. I've not really shown you how to do that tonight, but I can, and I will individually. I just want you to be knowledgeable of stuff that's out there at the moment. Now, here's a good example. Grammarly is what a lot of our kids have found and played with and used, but it's now been banned at the DOE because they blocked, well, Beth, they screwed up their privacy things. Grammarly screwed up their privacy concerns, and now it's not private for the kids. So the DOE's doing the right thing. It's just a pain. So hopefully Grammarly will get their act together. But from what I just heard, they got blocked the other day. So they got to clean up. Now, there are a lot of built-in tools too, which is really neat. So if you go into a Google Doc and you go to tools and you go down a little bit, you'll find voice typing. A lot of our guys have found that. And they just speak their ideas right into their Google Doc, automatically saved. And like I said, they'll come back later and they can edit them. I got 6-year-olds doing this quite well. And so I just have them put all their ideas in and then go get whoever's going to help them with their homework and look at it and look at their ideas and help them organize them and clean them up. Well, one of the ways to clean them up is to download another tool. And I love this one. It's called Read and Write. The DOE loves this tool too. And this tool has all these features like word prediction and text to speech and speech text and fact finders and a little bit of AI built in. You could download it for free for 30 days, let your kid master it. And then at the end of those 30 days, only one thing's going to be left, the ability to read it back to you. So that means you have your voice typer to talk to your document, and then you have the read and write to read it back to you, and you're good to go, free forever. Now the DOE, the reason I want your kids to try it is if you're going to go for an evaluation, I want them to really get good at it. So if they go into the eval, they do well at the eval. That's what meeting with me would do. I would tell you what tools might be good for your child. You have them practice them. You go to the meeting and then you win. Because I want the kid to show off to them. That's how we win, when the kids show their own proficiency. Not because we advocate well for them. Nobody wants to listen to us in those meetings. It's the kids have to show off in that meeting. So I want them to do well at these things. Built into Microsoft Office and Microsoft Word especially, everybody in New York City whose kid is in the DOE gets a free access to Microsoft Office, by the way. You just have to ask your school how to download it. And built into there, all these tools for reading and for voice dictation and even supports for vision and so forth. A whole bunch of supports. Matter of fact, it even breaks down words into syllables so that kids can actually practice seeing the phonemic, breakdowns of the words as they're reading or trying to decode. So that's just built into Microsoft Office tools. Just a real quick side note. You might have peers who have kids who are non-speaking or have other issues. And I just want you to know we do that too. So we help kids with communication devices. We help them with physical access, like eye tracking, head tracking, whatever. We help kids with looking for tools for self-regulation. I think, Beth, this might make a really great investigation on behalf of your guys in like one of the classes is to tear apart some of these self-regulation apps and see if they're any good. I know your guys looked at Florio, which we will in a minute, but like this app on the left is for little guys and it helps them practice their deep breathing exercises so they focus. The one on the far right, we use with a lot of kids who have attention issues. And this one it's basically moving in space and solving academic problems. This is preschool level. So these kids are actually trying to find the right colors with their bodies. So the kids are using their bodies in space, and let me just go right to the end. These little guys are all autistic and they're working together in team and coloring together in this preschool. It's just beautiful. So there's a lot of tools out there that are really amazing with regards to therapeutic uses too. You won't hear about those in the DOE very often, but we're trying to get them to pay attention. Let's get back to the academics. There are pens out there. These pens will actually read to you or record what's being said. Or the one on the right, for example, will actually highlight everything in a book and then put all that information into your computer as you're taking notes as you're reading. Oh, that's important. That's important. That's important. So many tools out there. You're like, Mark, too many tools. All you have to know is that if your child is facing some kind of a struggle with a task, there's probably a tool. Let's just ask, okay? Word prediction is amazing. It helps kids that are having expressive language issues or kids who can't spell well. And like, for example, as I'm typing here, it says word prediction is XTR. That's all. That's the best I could do to spell extraordinary. And look what pops up right below it, extraordinary. And what's really neat about the word prediction on our devices versus your phone is that our devices can actually we have content dictionaries, which means that if we're studying physics terms come up. If I'm studying Harry Potter terms come up. See, yours is just predicts the simple word that you're trying to do. Ours is far more sophisticated in our field. We have tools like inspiration, where you do a mind map or a concept map on the left and organize all your ideas. You press a button and it turns into an automatic outline. Because the greatest problem our kids face is actually time, getting things done. So if a teacher says, fill in this concept map, fill in this idea map of how your experiment went. Now go make an outline. The kid's going to look at her like, I just did, lady. I made a concept map, you know? But no, now you press a button and it turns into that outline, which saves a lot of energy. Some of our kids have handwriting issues, and that really affects math as well. You know, trying to line up all of your calculations, making sure they're all in the right place. The one on the left is on an iPad. You literally just have to type with your fingers, type math with your fingers. The one on the right is an extension built for Google Docs, where you can speak math or type math or write math on a touchscreen. So we have tons of tools to help them organize so they don't waste so much time building the problem. They spend more time solving the problem. Tons of tools to read to, like I said. One on the left, it's an iPad one called Voice Dream Reader, reads any PDF or anything to the kids. On the right, Learning Ally Books, which is all the literature that the DOE expects our kids to read. We also have tools if literature is not accessible to make it accessible. So Prismo is an app where you take a picture of that workbook on the left and it turns it into a editable and readable text on the right. We have so many things for the little guys when they get started. Books that you can take a picture of a book and it starts reading it to the kid. On the left, on the right, you have word banks so kids can learn to start writing with their ideas even before they're literate, using pictures and word banks. Now, a lot of parents are talking about ADLs and their kids working on skills at home. It's not appropriate for school. They need more academics. They really do. These ADLs could be brought home with a lot of really neat apps that help kids with safety in the community, money exchanges, social cues, etc. A lot of tools that are out there that are really excellent. This is one Beth could tell you more about. This is another time. Florio is an app that has really been advancing. It was specifically made by parents of a kid who's autistic, and they were trying to help him learn how to integrate into the community. This is a police officer interaction, socializing over a pizza, going to a movie theater, going to a Starbucks, whatever it is. They're learning about, you know, mixing into the community before they do it so that they can sensitize themselves to whatever it is they need to do and prepare their language for it or whatever. Really good experimental VR stuff. So these are the 4 problems with AT. It's not considered. It's poorly implemented, as someone already pointed out. It has a stigma for a lot of kids. Even kids who are autistic are telling me, Mark, I don't want to look different. And I'll say, well, don't you already feel different? They're like, yeah, why should I make it worse? And that's a great point. They're looking at me like, Mark, do I really need to stand out more because I'm the only one using this tool? So kids get really self-conscious about this stuff. Unnecessarily so, I think. And it's ableist. And there's so many comments out there about people. You can look at it later. They just have so many comments on why this is not good. Anyway, the research, I love the fact that I'm going to just fly through these things because it's all about research. And I love it when somebody with a dyslexia initiative came to me and said, Mark, you can't use this assistive tech with kids with dyslexia. It's going to keep them from learning to read because of all of these things she made up in her head. There's literally no research that proves that. So let's go back to what I said. When somebody's telling you a line that you just know is not true, call them out and go, show me where it says that. Prove it. Give me the evidence. Because Mark has the evidence. For keyboarding, there's absolute proof that it doesn't make a difference if a kid types or keyboards when they do their work. Unless you're dysgraphic, typing is usually superior. For text-to-speech software, oh, it's going to keep a kid from reading. Just the opposite. They experimented with 100 kids in high school who were poor readers. By the end of the year, they had greater comprehension, greater vocabulary, and a greater desire to learn to read, and their reading actually improved. 1 year. And these kids were poor readers their whole lives. You know, a lot of tools. This is a very complex study. This is saying that listening to a book and reading a book are the exact same thing. The data goes to almost the same part of the brain and is retrieved in almost the exact same way. So listening to a book is just as effective, just as effective. And then finally, probably the most powerful study I've seen in years is they took a bunch of kids and these kids were not literate And they had a literacy intervention in Sweden, and they had assistive tech. And they followed these kids for 2 years. And at the end of the study, they had the same outcomes, which proves that not only is assistive tech useful for facilitating greater literacy, it's an intervention in itself. But I wouldn't dare say that to the DOE. I think they'd lose their minds. So I'm going to bypass a lot of this. These are my ideas on how we can change the system. There is an assistive tech database out there called the Unified Listing. It has every assistive tech tool on the entire earth because 15 countries have contributed to it. And in the DOE, there's a lot of places to start. And I'll send you these links. I'm going to send you all these links that go into the assistive tech facts and the info hub and all these guides for how the assistive tech team in the DOE is trying so hard. They're trying so hard. It's a small team serving 220,000 children. It's really an unbelievable task. And they're talented people, so they've been trying to make these websites so that everybody can find what they need. And so there's a whole bunch of links that I'll send to you. They have a Padlet where the tools are helping you and so forth, because they know they're not going to reach every kid. So they're trying to empower the schools to do this and to take control for this. So there's a lot of guides and tools out there. Finally, I just wanted to say there's also a lot of tools out there. I'm going to come over to here to help kids with safety. Watches that help them locate where they are or we locate them. Watches for us to communicate that they use for seniors too. A lot of built-in safety things for helping them find people and find their tools, like they lost their wallet or they lost, their keys or whatever to the house. There's so much built in that we can use. So anyway, I just wanted to fly through that really quickly, and I'll stop here because I really want to take questions. This was just a general, a general overview of what AT can do. And basically, I'll just tell you this. It's all about self-advocacy. I ran in-home Medicaid waiver programs for YAI for 10 years. And I helped people learn to live on their own. That was one of my things. And then I also ran residential 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And I've looked at, and I've also worked in people's homes. And so I've gotten to see how people face obstacles when they're just trying to take care of themselves and to advocate for themselves and stand up for themselves. And I will tell you that the most important thing I will ever say, and this is to Josephina too, is having a voice. And I don't mean just a literal voice, is to be able to speak for yourself. I think that's one of the things the BEST program does well, that staff really help the kids speak for themselves, is to advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, defend yourself, explain yourself to whoever needs it explained to. And it's not just because you need a communication device, it's also just knowing the words and having the confidence and so forth. And if you can take control of your own education and not have to depend upon others to always be there to help you, that is a real confidence builder. And it's going to take you through life. One of the things that I think is the most terrifying is to watch how many kids went to specialized schools. My friend included, she's a lawyer and she's severely dyslexic. She went to a specialized school and then they just dumped her in the world and said, well, we tried our best. Orton Gilliam didn't work after 8 years, still a poor reader, 4th grade decoding level. She went to college at Adelphi and they held her hand and held her hand and held her hand and took care of her and ran up all these bills. And then she went into a real miserable job until she discovered assistive tech, mastered all these tools, took control of her life and went back to college and became a lawyer. So at any age, these things are empowering. But the most important thing is to get them into the hands of kids when they're young. Because if you think your kids are kind of like, Mark, this is the way I do things and I don't want to change, have an attitude like that, which I'm sure you're familiar with, that's how they're going to look at the AT. I already do this well, Mom. I don't need these tools. It's already in my head. I already have my methods. And you're like, yeah, but your methods are not time efficient or productive. So these tools need to be in the heads of kids when they're little. I'm teaching preschoolers how to talk to their computers and how to listen to their computers. So they're not just playing on them. I'm teaching them that these are tools to help them control their world and their learning. Just like pencils do, just like paper does. You should teach these kids the tools the same time they learn pencil and paper, because that's all they are tools. We're not talking about watching TV on an iPad or YouTube videos or any of that. These are just tools. They're not going to hurt anybody. So there's my quick spiel. Let's go quick to, is it Josephina? Your son is verbal but has limited difficulty to express himself. I have to tell you that recently I had a young kid who had Down syndrome, and he could express himself pretty well, and not great, mostly 3/4 phrases, couldn't finish the whole sentence. And so a friend and I wanted to get a communication device for him, and they all said no. And so I tricked them. I said, well, we're going to use it for literacy. So I said, we'll use a communication device for him to write sentences with pictures. Literacy. And the DOE came in and said, no, you can't do that. That's not what it's for. So that's not what the law says. So what we did is we got a friend of mine who is an expert in this field, and she had published an article on exactly what you're asking, which is some people who have limited ability to really express themselves, they can talk, but not well enough to make their point, are still entitled to AT communication devices to augment their communication. Get it? That's why it's called augmentative communication. It's not called alternative communication. That's when you replace someone's voice. It's augmentative communication. You augment their voice. And to give you an example of that is every time I go into Starbucks, I'm intimidated because I don't know what a vente or a trente or wente or maki, macchiato, whatever the heck. I don't know any of these terms. So that's why I just order tea half the time. So when I go in, I literally look at the menu, practice saying it, figuring it out, and then I make my attempt at saying it. I'm using a menu. I'm using symbolic communication. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm augmenting my communication. So why can't a kid who's autistic, who's having trouble expressing himself, say in a social situation, bring up on his device, on his phone, on his wristwatch, on anything, all the things he should say in this one situation, and practice them and practice saying them, and then go in with confidence like you do before you go into a meeting, or use it to speak for him when he can't, you see? So yes, the long story short, I will send you an article if you remember to email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you email me, I'll send you an article by that person saying how kids who are able to communicate but not well enough are still entitled to communication devices. And we do this when the kids are like 3, 4, 5, especially kids who are autistic or apraxic. We take away the device once they start talking. Mark, he's making sentences. I don't care. Are they all the sentences that he's capable of? No. Then don't touch the device until he says, I'm good. Leave them alone. Everybody needs to augment their communication. Or as I will say about a lot of kids who are autistic, they'll say to me, or they'll imply, they'll say, my mom feeds and my dad feeds me. People play with me. They give me shelter and I have toys. I'm good. It changes personalities. Kids will just retreat into themselves and say, I'm good. I don't need to go out there and push myself because no one's going to listen anyway. So it alters your personality if you don't get to express yourself and you're not allowed to. It's really sad. And to watch kids pull into themselves. And then someone says when they're 12, Mark, look, he's not cognitively able to do this. Not true. He doesn't want to. And our kids can be pretty stubborn. So they'll just say they don't want to. And everybody think, oh, they're not capable. When that is really never true. You don't know what's going on in someone's mind unless they can communicate. So then how can you judge their cognitive abilities? You can't. So there's my speech. Any other questions that are, like I said, it's a huge field. We cover, just like the spectrum is a huge spectrum, right? So many different needs for so many different people, And Josephine, if you email me, we'll set something up so we can help them. All right. Anyone else has any particular needs that that you're struggling with right now that we can address? We've got like 10 minutes, 9 minutes if anybody wants to. I've got to go teach, unfortunately, at 7. But hopefully people got a little bit of what they're looking for. I'll send Sophia and Beth my links. I don't think I can do it here. I can try. No, it won't. It blocks my access to my computer, but I'll send you some stuff.
Hey, Mark, are you still at the JCC on Sundays?
No, it's really by appointment, which means it can be this time of night. It can be any time.
And you do it online?
You do it
Yeah.
online. For most of our
Yeah,
kids,
can you talk a little bit about that
yeah,
piece?
sure.
Students
I mean, I
knew.
did at the
Parents
beginning.
may- Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, but it's basically we're kind of like social workers of AT. So in other words, I can't get you the device, and I can't, necessarily teach your teachers how to do it, but I can try. We want the DOE to do it, and that's what we're going to do is help you figure out how to get the DOE to do it. And so it's really having a coach in your backyard, helping you find the tools you need until the DOE does the job they're supposed to do. How's that? Basic, and it's free. I can't see your name, but it says you have your hand raised. We can speak. I can't see your name though. It's a gentleman with a picture of himself. Please just, yeah, go ahead and speak. It's does anybody see his name? I can't see his name.
I don't see his name. No.
Okay. Ask to unmute.
Well, his
Okay.
hand is raised, but maybe that was it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll
Looks like he's unmuted, but I can't hear anything.
Well-
If you want to use the chat, you're welcome to.
oh, sorry, stiff. Yeah, we can put in the chat too. Other thoughts? Anybody else? Melissa, good to see you here.
Hi, nice to see you too.
Oh. Anybody have any more questions at all? Hopefully, I hope this was useful. Just know that this is what's really sad. This stuff is older than Sophia. Okay, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
So, hey, Mark, so like that first piece that you were talking about where you hovered over the, your phone with the photo, with the
Mhm.
app, like where, can you go over that again? That
Yeah,
we're,
that one's an app called Seeing AI. I just did that as a teaser. I'm not saying it's the best thing, but your phone can almost do, according to Apple now, I just spoke to them last week. Your phone can do almost everything. Somebody who's blind showed me how it could happen now. For the blind, basically the iPhone can read anything in any environment. I forgot how to practice it. I'm going to have to practice it, but it's incredible. So in other words, we don't even need those apps anymore. Your phone is capable of listening to you and doing things, of reading anything to you, of highlighting anything, of taking a picture of anything and reading it to you, identifying things. It can do so many things. So the more one group advocates for access in an operating system, like the blind are advocating for themselves, it ends up helping other groups. So anything that helps a blind helps a dyslexic or anybody has any literacy issues. I like to say that assistive tech changes the way we look at disability, because if I had a kid who has a physical disability, a kid who's blind, and a kid who's dyslexic all in the same room, I would say they all have the same disability. Well, what is it, Mark? Reading. The book is their disability. It's not about medical. It's about what they can't do in the classroom. The disability is in the class. Melissa? Go ahead, Melissa.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi.
I am wondering, sorry, I've been jumping in and out of this conversation, so I don't know what you've covered. I'm wondering if you can recommend an app. I have an autistic son who is non-speaking,
Mhm.
not all the time, but loves reading and can type type very well. Is there just an app? We haven't tried this at all, but that can just speak, type text
Yep.
that isn't like a
Wow.
fancy AAC app, just like a basic.
There are. Tell you what, Melissa, let's definitely meet.
Okay.
And I have some loaners that I can loan out to parents for a couple of weeks to try to see if things work. And I do have probably like 2 or 3 apps like that. Matter of
Okay.
fact, any communication app that has symbols and looks childish, all you have to do is turn it on so that all the symbols go away. And then it becomes words and a typing tool. So then you have words for phrases when you have to say something fast, and then you'd have typing and then word prediction. Put that all together and someone's really powerful, because there are a lot of adults who have lost their voices. So we had to look at for adults, right? So it's perfect for them.
Yeah.
All right. So you
That's
call
kind of
me
what
and
I'm
we'll
looking for,
try
but
it.
I don't want to spend a lot of money on an
Yeah.
AAC, you know.
Yeah,
wanna-
There's a
Yeah.
couple free ones. There are a couple free ones too. I just have to remember which ones they are.
Okay.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, we'll
All
do that. And then
Great.
the gentleman had asked in the chat about dyslexia. Well, severe dyslexia, first and foremost, what is most vital is that the kid can do their work tonight. That's what's most vital. So there are so many tools that are built in already. And I think the most powerful one is the read and write and the voice typing. But there are some other things too, is to get them up and running so that every handout they have is hopefully digital. And if it's not digital, there are ways to make it digital in a minute so that the kids can have it read to them and they can do something about it right away. You know what I mean? They have to be able to work on it right away. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. SORA, SORA, is the New York Public Library's answer to literacy challenges. And they have a lot of audiobooks and digital books that you can download too for free. You only have to belong to the DOE to have access through your school and at home. But the gentleman who asked that question, please email me and I'll meet with you and your kids, and we'll try to solve whatever grade level stuff they need right now so they can get up and running while we get an actual eval in place for you. And that would be the second thing. And the reason we want this eval is the DOE people are talented enough to do this, even though they don't always have time. And we want it on the IP so that it carries these kids all the way to college. I taught 3 dyslexic students in my course at Bank Street last year. So teachers being dyslexic, so we have the tools. So yeah, I'll definitely help you. I know we don't have a lot of time left. I also saw. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question? Guess we can't hear you for some reason. But please email me, and I'll definitely talk to you. Julie, you had your picture up for a minute. Did you have a question? I've got to run. But I want to see.
I have a very quick question. Do you think that
okay.
Do you think that the iPad, is better or worse than the computer, like, in terms of assistive technology?
They're both equal, but what
Okay.
matters is the age of the kid. I
Okay.
think you better be transitioning away from an iPad by middle school because you need a bigger screen. You're going to be doing more things, and the iPad is just not going to cut it when it comes to multitasking. It's just not going to cut it. Yeah. But like I said, if any of your schools are struggling with this, if you can get permission from the principal for us to have a Zoom meeting, it's a free training on anything you want, from augmentative communication to tools for dyslexia. Parents, like the people who asked. Parents, like the people who asked.
Hi guys.
Oh, felt something.
But
oh, well, I got to run. But that gentleman who's having trouble right now, please email me. I'll put it in back. Put this in one more time for everybody. And we will. And I'll make time for any of you. It's
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
If you want to stick around, talk to anybody, feel free, and then you can send me some questions. But I got to run, go teach class. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Sure.
Have a good class.
Bye.
Sophia, maybe you can just talk about some of our programs that are upcoming.
Yeah, sure. Let me pull up the calendar, but thank you everyone who came. I definitely learned a lot. So I'm sure everyone also learned a lot of things today. Let me look and see what we have coming up.
Well, we have a college access program.
Mhm.
Your school may be saying, your kid can't go to college, but you know what? Some of them can, or if they want to, or they just want to hang out and figure out what is college. Come hang out and join our program.
Yeah, let me.
Family Day coming up.
This is, you can find you can find us on Instagram, Tech Kids Unlimited. We usually post the upcoming events. The college access program, these dates are actually not correct. It will be starting, I believe, November 18th. I can check that, and I can also drop the link, the enrollment link in the chat for anyone who's interested.